Today on the Hangout, the homecoming of the #1 overall pick, Andrew Wiggins, in the dots. We go big game hunting with the two top teams in the East, the Warriors and the Hawks. And we go Raptors Roundup, the Toronto Raptors, 3 wins in 4 games. Are they back on track? Hangout. Hoop heads and ballers, welcome into the half hour of power. That is the Hangout. I am Akil Augustine, and it's time for us to discuss the hottest topics going down across the NBA. Welcoming our panel to the show, Dan Gladman, producer, Toronto Raptors broadcast. He also shops at, was that Mex? Where'd you get that shirt from?
Robert Graham, brother.
It's hot. It's hot.
Abbott Kinney, Los Angeles. Come on.
Also shopping from places that I will never shop at, Vidal Messiah with the quilted New Mexican.
Don't hate, don't hate, don't hate.
Where exactly did you get the Roots jacket?
Come on, you know this is swag.
I know what it is.
All right, my dog from Hoop Dogs, of course, Darren Andrade. Thank you for coming out and blessing us with your presence. Let's jump into it, of course. The Toronto Raptors on the floor at the ACC. They're finally kind of getting the rhythm together. The story, of course, in this game, Jonas Valanciunas, 15 points, 15 rebounds, another double-double. DeMar DeRozan with a rough shooting night, as you see Terrence Ross putting in a 3, of course. But he did get above the 20-point mark. And then the reason why the building was full, not only the Raptors, Andrew Wiggins, although he was overshadowed by the 37 points of Kevin Martin, Mr. Wiggins got in some foul trouble with 3 quick early fouls, but he did put on a nice performance with 15 points. First thing, before we get into the Wiggins effect, we got to get into these Toronto Raptors. 3 wins in 4 games, guys, and we're seeing Jonas Valanciunas play extended minutes in the 4th quarter. Are they back on track? Dan Gladman, our local Raptors in-house expert.
Well, I don't think I would say, or really the coaching staff would say, they're back on track. They have won a couple of games, and that's a great sign moving forward, but they haven't been consistent over that, you know, this 4-game stretch that you're talking about. They still have things to work on. Lowry got the back contusion, so who knows if he might even play against Chicago on Friday. But I don't think they're back on track. They have 14 games to get where they want to be heading into the playoffs, but I think it's easy to say there's still a lot of improvement to do over the next 3 weeks.
Vidal, Darren, to echo Dan's concerns, I mean, this is a Timberwolves team without their head coach. You know, shouts out to Flip and everything he's going through, but Sam Mitchell was in place. 8 players available to play, and the Toronto Raptors still struggle to beat a very, very young, undermanned team. So is it, you know, are you still like cautiously optimistic? Or?
I think you've got to wait. I think when you talk about JV getting in on the 4th quarters, that's a little bit of adjustment because he's making that change. Right. And, you know, people got to sort of fall in line with that. Roles tweak a bit when, you know, when those 4th quarter comes, but I think they're showing semblances, and that's all you can ask going into the final realm of the season, because this is where they're going to have to pick up. I know everybody's made a big deal about, you know, can they achieve 50 wins? Is it a big deal or not? I think it's only a big deal because with 14 games left, if you get that 50 wins, it means you're doing well going into the playoffs. So I think for them, this frame coming up is crucial to how they step forward into the postseason.
Now, Vi, we've got you here. You live full-time in Atlanta, Georgia, but you are from Toronto. So I want to get your perspective because it's probably a little bit different. Beginning of the year, this Toronto Raptors team looked really hot. Everybody was talking about them. TNT finally showed them some love. Fastest team to get the 40 wins, but should this have happened a little bit sooner, seeing how hot they started? And what's the conversation like away from Ontario about the Toronto Raptors?
You know, early in the season, it was all Raptors and Hawks, right? The Hawks were still kind of doing their thing. The Raptors have slid a bit since the All-Star break, but to be quite honest, I'm just not convinced. Like, obviously, it's the hometown team. I'm going to ride with them. I'm cheering for them, but I think the inconsistent play, I think the sporadic play, I think just relying on jump shots, you know, I don't think that's going to bode well for them in the playoffs. And it's Eastern Conference where the Cavs are surging, teams are getting better, guys are getting healthy. But
there's an aggression missing. And you know, I know people are seeing that, but there's an aggression missing, like an attack mode missing from the team. And I saw that earlier, but I also saw, you know, the distribution of responsibilities were different in the beginning of the season. I know as the season funnels, it changes a bit, but your big dogs are still your big dogs, and they've got to set the tone. And, you know, there's injuries that take apart, but I just don't see that aggression.
Doing that lately. I mean, in terms of on the court, getting to the free throw line, going to the basket, they seem to be making an effort to get more.
But it was team-wide before, Dan, and I know it takes a bit to sort of get that going again.
They're deferring to DeMar a lot now.
And that's dangerous. I think
but that's who they've been. They've always been kind of a perimeter team. And passing the ball.
And I think that's the problem. If you look at the Hawks, which kind of made up, similar type deal where it's a team that's kind of not overachieving, but not someone you had preseason as like the top team in the league. They're doing it with the pass. The Hawks do it with the assists. They average
a lot now.
They average more than, I'm not sure what the number is, but they might lead the league in assisted field goals.
The Raptors came out aggressively in Indiana right away in the first quarter. I think that's what you're talking about. And I think if there's one thing, you want to see them do that in every game. I do have to agree with you. If that's a definition of aggression, that isn't on a consistent basis right now.
Okay, now let's flip the coin. Toronto Raptors played the Minnesota Timberwolves. People were in the house to see Andrew Wiggins, #1 overall pick. He struggled a lot. Well, not a lot, but he struggled more than some people anticipated at the beginning of his season. He had a slow start. What did you guys see in his game that allowed him to finally, even though, he's kind of the marquee guy now with a lot of guys out, and he's still getting a lot of focus on defense, he's starting to show some of that promise?
I didn't see the click. I know a lot of people point to the Cleveland game. He had the chip on his shoulder, and he performed well. But with Wiggins, I've seen sort of just a steady progression. I know if you talk to his coaches, you talk to his parents, you talk to his old coaches, there's a plan in place. And I don't think he's deviated from it much. And I think Minnesota was actually the better place for him to put that plan into place. I see a very high IQ player that's sort of on that steady path. And so I don't see that click factor. I think he's right where he should be.
There are only 14 wins, however, despite how well Andrew's playing. Is there a disconnect there, or is it too early to anticipate him to affect the bottom line?
He's not playing well enough to impact a team winning a lot of games just on his shoulders. He has very little help. We saw Rubio a bit last night. He must still be hurt because he was terrible.
No, he's not hurt. He's just terrible.
Okay, well, then he's terrible.
You're a big fan, right?
Kevin Martin was great, but he's not going to score 37 points every night.
Not going to play defense
Wiggins,
any night.
I thought Wiggins was terrific last night. Efficient on his shots. The thing that surprised me was rebounding.
Yeah, I love that about him.
Had a couple of great offensive rebounds, and yeah, of course he wasn't great in November and December. He's a rookie. He's hardly played any NBA ball. There's been progression this year, and the progression over his career is going to be amazing. He's going to be an all-star within 2 or 3 years and possibly a multi-MVP winner. I think he's going to be amazing.
I think he's been amazing. Having known Andrew, knowing his personality, for him to take what he's taken in stride, whether it be the media, shoe contracts, all that pressure, knowing his personality, he's not the most forward person. He's pretty reserved and quiet. He spent 1 year in college. He's dealt with this now for the past 4 or 5 years, and I think the Timberwolves have been a blessing for him. Smaller market, much better situation for him to develop. I think into the superstar that he's going to be.
Okay, Mr. Wiggins, Mr. Canada Basketball, of course, in the house. It was Canada Basketball night at the Air Canada Center. The Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, was in the house. Am I the only person that follows him on Twitter? Because he left a pretty interesting tweet last night shouting out, of course, Andrew Wiggins. He was very pleased to meet him, as well as one of Canada's top basketball talents. The picture shows Anthony Bennett, but the tag says Kyle Lowry. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Are we all staying away from making fun of Mr. Harper?
It's a good way of giving love to all 3 of the players, okay? Here's some love to the 2 Canadian, potential all-stars, and also to Kyle Lowry, who really is the face of the Toronto Raptors.
And the game has
Stephen Harper actually tweet, or was that like his assistant?
Maybe he didn't get it wrong, but it also goes to show there's a little more growth.
That has to happen.
A little more growth to reach the steps of Parliament.
If Akil met the finance minister and the environment minister, would you necessarily get their names right in the tweet?
Come on.
I would have when it was Jim O'Hara.
They're not.
My guy Jim
O'Hara,
I love him. He's a great politician. So I do know my Canadian politics.
If you're gonna go to the game and tweet, come on, man.
We got to come back with some more fun here on Canada's home for talking hoops and also for talking politics. This is the Hangout. We got to talk about the 2 best teams in the league matching up. Wardell Curry versus the Hawks. Hangout.